On this episode of MythBusters,
That is awesome!
Adam and Jamie bet the house on a hurricane survival tale.
Home sweet home.
For a little while.
It's wind versus windows
Things are going to start to get a little crazy in here.
as they unleash the awesome power of nature at its deadliest.
We are so not in Kansas anymore.
Meantime, Carrie, Grant, and Tori chill out with two myths about liquid nitrogen.
That is terrifying!
First, it's the villainous movie myth of the quick freeze face that shatters like ice. Then, could a truckload of LN2 really ruin Christmas?
Minus 200.
I can't even comprehend that.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
That's significant data.
and Jamie Heineman.
Jamie wants a big boom.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Joining them, Tori Belleci,
We're popping popcorn with lasers.
Grant Imahara, and Carrie Byron.
Look, Ma, no hands!
They don't just tell the myths,
Here comes chaos.
they put them to the test. First up, a myth fit to blow the house down.
Here's the myth. You've got a nice house, it's near the ocean, a hurricane's coming. What do you do?
Does this have to do with opening windows?
Bingo! The theory is that if you leave the windows open, it'll allow the wind to pass cleanly through the house, creating less structural damage than if you closed the windows.
Really?
Hurricanes are one of the most powerful forces in nature, destroying thousands of homes each year. And where there's catastrophe, there's often controversy. Some say that to prevent your home being blown to bits, it's best to open all your windows. And some say to leave them closed.
What are we gonna do?
Well, before we even get to the hurricane part, I'm actually really interested in examining the structural pressures on a house, let's say, in scale. In a wind tunnel, we make a little house, windows open, close, try the different configurations and see what we get.
Sounds like a good place to start.
I thought so.
Flash forward a day to NASA's Ames Research Center, just across the bay from M5. Senior research engineer Kurt Long has kindly offered his miniature wind tunnel for testing.
There we go.
Perfect.
All right, just bolt it down and we're ready to go.
But ready to go with what exactly?
This may look pretty cool, but I assure you that yesterday this was nothing but a big sheet of steel with potential.
And it didn't take long for that steel to fulfill its potential, transforming into a small-scale house. Like most simple homes, it's got 4 walls, a roof, and some windows. But this is an engineering marvel.
All of the walls of the house have a hinge along the bottom, and that allows the wall to flex in and out. Now, because we've attached a cylinder inside that's filled with a blue fluid, when the wall moves in or out, it pushes that cylinder up or down, which moves this blue fluid in the hose up or down. Now, because the cylinder is actually quite large and this hose is quite small, we get a lot of movement on the hose that we can see clearly with relatively little movement on the wall.
Each wall and the roof is color-coded, so the blue water runs up a clear tube to match a corresponding color on the big board. That way, they can see exactly which wall is feeling the force of the wind with windows open or closed.
This steel box right here is our test platform for monitoring pressures on a house when the windows are open or closed in a windstorm. It's got 4 windows, 1 on each side, and we can open them by removing any which ones we want.
Time to test the relative pressures from several hurricane window scenarios. And we'll kick it off with a total lockdown.
Now, this test is with all windows closed, and this will be our baseline for all the other testing.
Kurt starts the suction, raising the wind speed in an instant to 60 feet per second. The tail of the turbulence couldn't be more clear.
Maybe, there you go.
With all windows closed, the front wall bore the brunt of the blast. The roof began to lift, and the blue water went wild.
Roof is lifting just a little bit.
That's exactly what we'd expect. I think we're good. We can bring it down.
That's perfect. Let's cut it.
So they stopped the mini hurricane, resetting the tiny house with all windows open.
So the myth is that leaving your windows open in a hurricane will result in less structural damage to your house. If this myth is true, when we run this test with all the windows of our test house out, we should see a lot less movement of all the sides.
Once again, Kurt cranks the breeze up to 60 feet per second. And the movement, as predicted, is minimal. The walls and the water barely budge.
That's coming down just a hair.
Yeah, a lot less stress with the windows open.
Yep.
So, windward side pushed in 8.5 inches, a lot less than last time. The roof pushed up just a tiny bit.
Everything was less.
Everything was less with the windows open rather than closed.
And that's good news for the myth. With all windows open, some of the wind blew clean through the house. Less pressure on the walls and roof should mean less damage. But this typhoon test isn't restricted to all or nothing.
Next.
Only the windward window open, all the others closed.
Adam and Jamie try out a range of single window options. First, they just open the one up front.
60 feet a second. 0.
Then they try a side window.
Beautiful.
And finally, they remove the one out back.
I feel like I'm birthing a mechanical cow.
But all windows open is still by far the best option.
Nothing, 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 nothing. It's all in that front face.
Yep.
I've seen everything I need to see. You want to call it?
Yep.
All right. The single worst thing you can do in a windstorm is open the windward side window and none other. Your house feels like a balloon. It puts a maximum amount of stress on the structure. It turns out that in this test, the least amount of stress on your house will result from you opening all of your windows.
Indeed. The small-scale tests were great indicators, but we need to see how those pressure changes translate into real damage. Adam and Jamie know they'll have to upscale the house and bring on the hurricane. At minus 320 degrees Fahrenheit, liquid nitrogen turns the soft and supple, like flowers or ripe fruit, into something brittle enough to shatter. Anything that potent attracts its fair share of folklore, and we're testing 2 of the fables.
Let's talk about shattering frozen heads. Now, this scene's a little graphic, so I doubt they're gonna show it.
Okay, well, how about I describe it instead? During the movie Jason 10, Jason takes a girl's head, dunks it in liquid nitrogen for 5 seconds, and then smashes it against a counter so it shatters into a million pieces just like ice.
The original scene is too grim to show, so here's a cartoon compromise. There's no doubt this would ruin your day, but could a 5-second dunk freeze a warm face so fast it explodes on impact?
Well, it sounds like our testing's gonna come down to 2 things. First, does organic material with high water content shatter like ice when frozen? And second, does it only take 5 seconds to freeze it, or is it even longer?
Well, I doubt anybody is gonna volunteer for this experiment, so we're gonna have to make our own heads. So why don't we get some real human skulls? We'll make some ballistic gel heads, so that way it's very similar to the water content of a human being.
Carrie sources the skulls from the bone room. She knows they all have to be small enough to fit inside a mold of her head.
I think I'll take these 3 skulls right here.
Okay.
So here's the plan for these crash test heads. They'll need the first for an unfrozen control test, and the second for that crucial 5-second dip in liquid nitrogen. The third is a just-in-case backup.
Normally when we do a head cast, we use alginate, and it takes a short amount of time to set up. This time we're using a silicone that is safe to put on the skin. So I'm gonna have plenty of time to play with it, and when we're done, we have the mold. We don't have to go and make a cast and then make a mold of that. I mean, it's a one-shot deal.
If it works, they can reuse the silicone mold to shape all 3 test heads.
Are you claustrophobic?
No.
Good.
but I am scared of scissors.
You gotta stop shaking. Oh wait, that's my hand.
Showing courage above and beyond the call, Carrie's next trial is a petroleum jelly facial.
What I'm doing right now is I'm greasing up your face so that way the silicone doesn't stick to all the little hairs on your face. Otherwise, we're basically gonna be waxing your entire face.
Best if Tori stops talking or Carrie stops listening.
I'm not nervous. I'm just a little greasy.
The silicone sludge is ready, and even if his bucket skills are less than perfect,
Ooh, hey, ooh,
let's acknowledge the massive loss to the world of professional cake frosting.
But right now, I just want to make sure I get an even coat over her entire face so we get a good impression.
As Carrie's rolled outside to stiffen up in the sunlight,
How's that feel? Good? Good.
Grant starts work on a pneumatic hammer to smash those frozen faces.
Okay, so here's the idea. Rather than smash the face into the counter, we bring the counter to the face, hence this wide, flat head on the hammer. Now, you might be saying to yourself, oh, all this is overkill, but just imagine. If we actually get these faces to freeze, all that soft, squishy flesh could turn into real shrapnel. So we're gonna use this to perform the test remotely, and we will be safely behind blast shields.
Oh, this is perfect. It's like a big, giant frying pan.
Yeah, a frying pan with 1,000 pounds of force behind it.
Have you ever been hit in the face with a frying pan?
Nope.
And it's high time we gave this lethal fry pan a test run.
Okay, tomato at 20 psi. In 3, 2, 1.
Oh, that's perfect speed and perfect power.
Good, great. Let's smash some heads.
But will a 5-second dunk in liquid nitrogen cause a face to smash like frozen fruit? Carrie, Tori, and Grant are almost ready to test a morbid movie stunt. Can liquid nitrogen really be used to rapidly freeze human flesh so it shatters like ice? Grant's built the smasher, while the others work on a lifelike mold for the various test heads. Carrie's been wrapped, plugged, frosted, and baked. And now she's done.
It's good she's laughing.
But not for long.
And usually, when I've gotten a face casting, you can kind of blow air into the casting, and it goes poof, and then you can pull it off really easily. So I blew into the casting, went poof, and my lips stuck to it.
Despite Tori's due diligence, some of the silicone is sticking to Carrie's face, pulling on her skin and eyebrows.
It's like a Band-Aid. You just gotta rip it off. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not gonna do that.
Where less cool heads might panic, Carrie holds it together. She knows that if the mask is damaged, they'll have to start over.
Ready? Here we go.
This hurts.
Finally, freedom. But just as they feared, it comes at a price.
We got some eyelashes. But look at how cool this is.
That is terrifying.
We have a silicone mold of your head. Yay! Was it worth it?
I think I might have to ice my face.
And that simple wish gives rise to a brilliant idea. The plan as it stands needs 3 test heads, 1 unfrozen control, 1 dunked for 5 seconds, just like the movie, and a spare. But why not smash another head made only from ice? This should set the ultimate shatter standard.
You know, all the years of special effects and mold making, this is probably my first ice sculpture.
Making an ice head is as simple as filling the mold with water and sticking it in the freezer.
All right, so once that freezes, we'll have a Carrie ice head to smash.
Now for the challenge of building 3 more lifelike Carrie heads, starting with brains made from dental alginate.
More brains.
So the consistency we're making right now with water to alginate is 78% water, which is the same consistency as the human brain.
The brains need time to set, so fast forward a few hours to the point where Tori pours the faces by filling the gap between the skull and mask with ballistics gel. This too needs time to set, but we don't have to wait around. Soon enough, they've got 3 heads fit to fracture and a solid ice control head to kick things off.
All right, so Carrie's frozen head debut, the first experiment.
This is the moment of truth. We've got Carrie's ice head in place, and in the movie, when the monster takes the head that was frozen in liquid nitrogen and smashes it on the counter, it looks just like shattering ice.
Grant pumps the pressure on the smackdown hammer to 20 psi.
Okay. Safety's out. Good to go.
And lets it rip with the control.
In 3, 2, 1.
That looked like it hurt.
Nice.
It sure did. So this is the best they can hope for.
So that is what a frozen solid head should look like when it gets smashed.
Now we know.
I don't even recognize her anymore. All right, should we move on to the ballistic gel head?
Cool.
No offense to Carrie, but this is where things could turn ugly. This alternate control test is a head warmed up to normal body temperature.
Look how creepy this looks. Now, we need to smash it to see what it looks like unfrozen. Once we have that data, we'll be able to compare it to the heads frozen with the liquid nitrogen. Right on the chin. It's gonna hurt.
Oh yeah, a lot. Okay, safety's out. Good to go.
This is Exploding Head Control Test 2, unfrozen ballistic gel head with the human skull.
Yeah. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh.
Look at that. Oh. Oh, she looks hammered.
Wow.
That is a perfect test.
That just crushed in.
Yeah, and it's just broken up the ballistic gel. It hasn't shattered all over.
No.
We've tested the 2 extremes. Now it's time to dunk head number 2 for 5 short seconds and see how it fares on the shatter spectrum.
Now, what do you guys think's gonna happen? I mean, personally, I think 5 seconds isn't long enough to freeze a head.
You know what? I have a feeling we're gonna be shattering these faces.
I think liquid nitrogen is really effective. 5 seconds might be just long enough to pull this off.
They've built a snug box with foam insulation to hold the cold of the LN2. And they'll need to be careful. Dealing with such fearsomely low temperatures, frostbite is a real danger.
Ugh, this is so wrong.
When you say go, I'll start timing.
That means long gloves, a full face mask, an apron, and a narrator saying, "Don't try this at home."
Whoa. Tell me when.
Okay.
Oh my God, look at that! That is so cool.
Weird.
Quickly so it doesn't unfreeze.
Going as quick as I can.
Grant predicts it won't work, but the others think you can sometimes trust in the movies.
Okay, pressured up. 20 psi. Safety's out. Good to go.
Okay, this is liquid nitrogen exploding head. Ballistics gel dunk for 5 seconds in 3, 2, 1.
Wow, cracked.
Grant was right. A 5-second freeze was too brief to turn those soft cheeks to shrapnel.
Definitely did not shatter like ice. But on the other hand, it didn't quite smush like the room temperature head. It was somewhere in between. So the freezing definitely had an impact on the impact.
Well, maybe to replicate the results they had in the movie, we're gonna need to freeze it completely through, leave it in a lot longer.
Yeah, because in the movie, when her face gets hit, I mean, it just shatters.
So the 5-second freeze was misleading, but a 5-minute dunk might make all the difference. This is why it's so important, people, to always have a spare head.
Whoa, that's impressive.
This myth, at least in principle, is still up for grabs.
Okay, that's 2 minutes.
That's it? It's only been 2 minutes? 5 minutes is gonna be forever.
So let's cut straight to the big chill.
Whoa! That is the coolest looking thing. That is frozen solid.
Tori places the head.
I gotta tell you, that looks exactly like the movie now.
That is cool.
All right, let's go.
And Grant supplies the smack.
Count it down.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Oh!
That looked more like the movie.
That looked just like the movie.
That was a lot better. Look, it's still frozen.
It's shattered.
That's cool.
That is disgusting.
After a much longer soak, they've at least matched the movie. But they're not ready yet to call this one busted.
We got the face to shatter, just like in the movie. However, we can't bust or confirm this myth yet, because let's face it, that was a ballistics gel head, not a real head. I mean, there's no muscle, there's no skin holding the face together. We need a more accurate human analog.
And that's not going to be pretty, because Tori's thinking pig heads, which will be the ultimate test. But it's not for the squeamish.
It's even got eyelashes.
Adam and Jamie are testing a myth that might just save your house and your life. Will opening every window in a hurricane lessen the damage to your home? Well, at NASA's wind tunnel, the small-scale experiments fortified the fable.
When we opened all the windows, we saw in that test specifically the least amount of overall pressure on our structure. So where does that leave us?
Somehow we need to get from those pressure differentials we saw in the small-scale testing to a real-world situation and see what it means in terms of structural damage. But that leads us right back to, where are we going to get a hurricane?
Well, the simple answer to that is Florida. And it really doesn't matter if it's hurricane season or not.
When you want to investigate the power of hurricane-force winds, you can do one of two things. Either A, get yourself into the middle of a real hurricane, or B, travel to the University of Florida's Hurricane Research Facility, which is where we are now, where they have the world's largest portable hurricane simulator.
For obvious reasons, this 3,000 horsepower hairdryer is nicknamed Medusa, after the mythical Greek chick with snakes on her head. But this modern monster is way more perilous, pumping out 1 million cubic feet of air a minute.
What exactly do you do with it?
The Hurricane Simulator is an experimental means to create severe wind and wind-driven rain, so we can test buildings, utilities, and even the landscaping around your home.
Well, what's on the menu for us today?
We're going to dial up a Category 2 storm with wind speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour.
Wow.
You said it, Jamie. And the guys just can't resist the thrill of first putting their own hides in harm's way.
Okay, we're all set. Let's start those babies up.
Here's man versus fan at 100 miles per hour.
Have you ever wondered what it would really be like to be in hurricane-force winds? Well, we've all seen news footage of hurricanes when they hit land and so on. This is 100 miles per hour. And notice how hard it is for us to retain traction on this surface. You'd be like a tissue cloth in the wind.
Oh, that is awesome! I was okay, but my suit's starting to come apart.
Before Jamie gets nude for the cause, let's pre-test with a target that's much closer to scale.
7 years of shooting this show and they finally got us a trailer.
Yep. Well, let's put it to good use.
The Saffir-Simpson scale predicts major damage to mobile homes in a Category 2 hurricane.
Let's start it up.
Medusa barely gets time to warm up before this caravan turns into trailer trash.
Well, that didn't take much. I don't even think those things got up to half speed.
Well, why don't we survey the damage? What do you say?
Well, there's your problem.
Somewhere in here is one of our cameras.
The Medusa picked up this trailer and just tossed it like it was nothing. I think we're in the right place to do some large-scale testing.
Well, clearly, this pipe organ from hell is more than able to produce the hurricane-force winds that we were looking for. Now, I think it's time that we build a house and put some of these open-closed window myths to a full-size test.
So far, we've matched the movie myth of the shattered face, but it took 5 minutes to freeze, not 5 seconds. To silence the critics, they're retesting with a better human analog, and Carrie's not comfortable.
It's got muscle and skin and lots of blood. We're starting out with 5 seconds, just like the movie. And then, if that doesn't work, we're moving on to full freeze. I sure hope you enjoy watching this because I won't.
Whoa! It's like a deep-fried pig, except deep-frozen.
It's round 2 of the frozen face smash. This pig's head is real flesh and blood, so the result should be more realistic.
He looks so peaceful.
Carrie reluctantly calls the shot.
Okay, this is liquid nitrogen, exploding heads, pig head. 5 seconds. Call it.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Is it bad?
No. It's not good. It's just not
Good,
really
you should
bad.
go check that out.
Hi.
Squash, but no shatter.
Yep, we flattened the face, but it didn't in any way shatter like the one in the movie.
No.
We'd like to show you the whole of the high-speed replay, but trust us, you don't want to see it. Suffice to say, it didn't shatter.
Do you want to try to leave it in there a little bit longer and see if that's enough to make it shatter?
Absolutely.
I think that's a great idea.
To maximize their chances, the second head marinates for a full 15 minutes.
Oh, that's frozen solid. Whoa.
Grant pressures up, and Carrie dares to take a peek.
2, 1.
Why did I look? Oh, why did I look?
You're a glutton for punishment.
Oh.
So what's the verdict?
We froze his head completely solid and smashed it, and no shattering happened whatsoever.
Absolutely nothing like the movie.
So I guess this one's busted. Thank God we're done.
Busted.
Busted.
Evildoers take note. Results of a 5-second face freeze might not match your expectations.
All right, no, we still have a whole canister full of liquid nitrogen.
What else can we do?
Let's find out.
Jamie and Adam have already risked losing their shirts.
That is awesome!
Then totaled a trailer
Well, that didn't take much.
to trial this portable mechanical hurricane.
I think we broke part of the toilet.
With a Category 2 wind speed, Medusa simulates a half-strength hurricane. So we're building a half-sized house to see if it suffers more or less structural damage with the windows open or closed.
Yeah,
It's been a while since your last Amish barn raising, hasn't it?
yeah.
This prefab cubby house roughly replicates a real home's proportions.
Home sweet home.
Yeah, for a little while.
A half-sized shack gets a quick paint job. Then Adam rides the rooftop.
I got something stuck in the crack of my butt. Can you see it?
It's not every day you see a house deliberately put in the path of a hurricane.
Oh, Dorothy, we are so not in Kansas anymore.
To assess the potential damage, they'll need to turn this house into a home.
There we go.
Simple furniture and a surrogate victim should be good storm fodder. Even more essential is a whole bank of expertly installed gauges measuring the air pressure inside and out.
Well, here's the deal. In a few minutes, a Category 2 storm is going to hit. The house is going to start to shake. Things are going to start to get a little crazy in here.
The Mad Hatter briefs Alice as the Dormouse puts it all in perspective.
Why is the house this big, you wonder? Why did we choose this scale? Well, this scale is dictated by
The size of the machine behind me. See, this thing is pretty much the largest of its kind, and it produces a hurricane with the footprint of the cowl you see behind me. So in order to get accurate hurricane force winds all the way around our model,
we built it exactly this large. Any questions?
No, but it's high time we explain just how a hurricane can wreck your home. Strong winds over the roof can cause uplift, while, depending on the building, horizontal pressures can cause racking or sliding. And if the house can't rack or slide, it might just overturn. Adam and Jamie are now ready to find out if those pressure differentials they saw in small scale translate to real structural damage in large scale. They'll start with all windows open, which should subject the house to the least amount of pressure.
All right, windows open? Windows open. Let's do it!
Medusa kicks into life and soon starts blowing with a vengeance. The grass starts to flutter, the stick-on shingles are ripped from the roof, and the drapes are almost blown away as the wind speed approaches, then passes 100 miles per hour. After 2 minutes, Jamie pulls the plug. As expected, with windows open, the house hasn't budged. Time to instigate an internal investigation.
After you, sir.
Oh, well, thank you. Hey, it's not as bad as I thought.
She's still sitting in her chair.
Yeah, one of the plants fell down, one of the candlesticks fell over, but pretty much it's not so bad in here.
Still looks like a tea party to me.
But if the small-scale results run true, the next test will be no tea party. They've repaired the roof and closed the windows.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, windows closed. Let's turn it on!
Hang on to your hats. Facing a Force 2 hurricane at point-blank range, this could be the moment our kit home turns into kindling. Once again, Medusa cranks up to full speed. Adam helps out with a huff and a puff. But against all predictions, the house fails to blow down. Totally baffled, the boys turn to the data from the pressure gauges.
On our exterior walls, we're almost seeing no difference between the pressure loads acting on the structure between the two tests.
What about the interior?
We're seeing a slight difference, but I think one could probably say that's within the noise.
So it's negligible.
It was negligible. In fact, really there is no positive benefit to keeping your windows open during a hurricane.
So why the disparity between small scale and large? Adam ponders, and then the penny drops. Size does matter, and it's all relative.
Confused? Here's the thing. In our scale tests, we grossly oversized the window's proportion to the size of the house in order to exaggerate any effects that we might get so that we could clearly see them. But with this test, with a much more real-world proportion between windows to the actual area of the house facing the wind, all those effects seem to disappear.
Seems like real-sized windows, open or closed, just aren't big enough to make any difference to the damage. Technically, that's myth busted. But in the real world, gale force winds might be the least of your problems.
You know what I'm thinking is, wind is only one of the factors that's going to affect the structural integrity of your house. I mean, there's also rain and there's also flying debris.
We need to up the ante.
And rest assured, they will. Now for the second chilling myth of liquid nitrogen.
All right, exploding frozen tree. Let's talk about that one.
Okay, well, the story goes that there was a leak in a liquid nitrogen processing plant. One of the pipes burst, and liquid nitrogen started to flood down into the office.
Now it was the holidays, so there was a Christmas tree and a bunch of decorations, but most importantly, the liquid nitrogen leaked onto the Christmas tree.
And bang! It explodes into splinters.
Right, now, in theory this could work. I mean, maybe the water inside of the tree froze and expanded and caused the tree to fail catastrophically.
Just like us mammals, most of the mass of a tree is water. When water turns to ice, it expands. And if the freezing is almost instantaneous, well, it doesn't take a tree surgeon to see how that might just ruin Christmas for everyone.
So where should we start?
Well, let's start by finding out how much water a tree contains. We can do a classic biology dry weight experiment.
All right, once we've determined that, let's get two identical trees. We'll take them out to the bomb range. We'll blow one up as a control, and the other one we'll pour tons of liquid nitrogen over and see what happens.
Sounds like fun, let's do it.
Our wood chipper's here.
Step 1 is to see just how much H2O lurks inside a standard Christmas tree. And this will not be pretty.
We're gonna shake the dirt off this, throw this thing into a wood chipper, and we're gonna take all those wood chips, throw them in pans, measure their weight. After that, we're gonna stick them in a low heat kiln, slowly dry them out, evaporate all the moisture out of them, and then measure them again.
So instead of trimming the tree, they'll tear it to shreds. But every last leaf and twig must be preserved for science.
So what we want to do is capture every little bit of the tree that comes out of the wood chipper.
You sure are chipper today.
And just in case some shards of shrubbery miss the trash can, there's a safety net.
I think we'll be able to catch everything with this.
It's just crazy enough to work.
Back inside, it's time to feed this innocent conifer to the wood chipper. Every shred went straight in the bucket. Not the result you'd expect from these two let loose with a wood chipper, but better luck next time.
Awesome. I have to say, this is definitely one of the better smelling experiments we've ever had in the shop. So much better than rotting meat.
Oh, wait till you smell it when it comes out of the oven.
I know.
It's gonna be delicious.
Fresh pine scent.
What started out as mulch looks like being the dish of the day.
So we've taken our 6-foot Christmas tree, put it through a wood chipper, and distributed it onto 8 baking trays. Over time, as the water bakes out of the tree, that weight's gonna go down until at some point it will plateau. Then we know we've gotten all the moisture out, and that will tell us what the overall moisture content of the tree was.
They'll check the diminishing mass each and every hour, but that could take days.
Tray number 1, 7.4 pounds.
All right, 7.4, that's it. The oven is filled. Now it's time to bake our tree.
In the meantime, there's fun to be had on the bomb range with an ill-fated control tree.
I hate to get sappy here, but does anybody feel really bad about blowing up a tree?
Is this what Christmas is like at JD's house?
Oh!
Smells great.
Now, of course, we can all imagine what an exploding tree looks like, but in the name of science and all things cool, we're gonna do it anyway.
The myth does call for a tree explosion, so as a point of comparison, we'll simulate that with some restraint.
So what do we got here?
Little decor, that ought to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could use C4, we could use all sorts of explosives, but I think det cord gives us the best chance of not blowing it up to complete smithereen.
Yeah, that's probably a good call. And look, it's gonna look like a Christmas tree.
The team retreats as JD sets the firing cap, then calls in the chaos.
Fire in a hole! Fire in a hole! Fire in a hole!
All right, so this is liquid nitrogen exploding tree control test.
Still calling this a control test.
Wait, you're acting like I am enjoying this. This is serious science right now, okay?
All right.
In 3, 2, 1, go, JD!
It looks like we just gave it a haircut.
And then some. This is the kind of defoliation they hope to get from a big fat blast of LN2.
Dang, look at that tree all over the place.
That's great. That's pretty much what I expected to see.
JD blew it up real good. Now, if liquid nitrogen can do this, I'll be impressed.
All right, next test, liquid nitrogen.
All right.
Many trees were planted to replace those we blew up. But right now, it's all about freezing one more tree to the point it might blow its bark. So far, Adam and Jamie have disproved the myth that it's best to open all your windows in a hurricane.
That's exactly what we'd expect.
The large-scale house suffered no structural damage with windows open or closed. They were just too small to make a difference. But real storm damage might owe more to rain than it does to wind.
Time to bring water into the picture, and the guys are currently installing the Rainmaker, 71 spouts that will pour 40 inches per hour of rain on our house in a hurricane. It's not quite biblical, but it sure is torrential.
They'll need to replicate a long-term torrent in a few short minutes. So Jamie adds a fire hose to the sideways downpour.
That means we're going to dump a buttload of water onto this house all at once, and it should be pretty much equivalent to several days of hurricane.
right now with the rain, I feel like if anything's going to cause some real structural damage, it's going to be the 1-2 punch of wind and rain.
And punch number 3 is the flying debris. Adam supplies friendly fire via the lawn furniture. The windows get smashed early on, as they would in a real hurricane. It's a short storm, but they've literally thrown everything into it.
What, do you think we replicated an overnight hurricane in about 10 minutes?
Odds are they did. So how did the Tea Party weather the deluge?
Wow, what a mess.
There's water everywhere. Oh my gosh, the carpet is completely soaked through and through. Glass everywhere. This place is messed up.
So what does this mean for the myth? Open or closed, the windows made no real difference in a Force 2 hurricane.
The thing you need to worry about is water damage, and having your windows closed is no guarantee.
The best thing to do in a hurricane is to board up all your windows. The house itself won't be at greater risk, and you might save yourself a whole lot of heartache.
Imagine everything you own soaked to the bone. The floors of your house, all of your clothes, all of your electronics, all of your paperwork. And then imagine that it might take you days or even weeks to be allowed back into your house to start to salvage that stuff, as it slowly rots and molds and becomes completely unusable. Then tell me if you still think water damage is minor.
Well, with windows open or windows closed, where do we stand on this myth?
Well, in a Category 2 hurricane in a house built to code, no difference.
So then it's myth busted. No help from opening your windows. In fact, opening your windows opens you up to a whole new world of pain. You got your water damage, debris, and even looters.
Well, if it was up to me, I'd be boarding those windows up and getting the heck out of there.
Yeah, me too. Fire in a hole!
Tori, Grant, and Carrie have slow-cooked one tree, then blown up another to test a tale of liquid nitrogen. If the fable's true, rapidly frozen water inside the tree expands so fast it explodes. But is there enough moisture to justify the myth?
So our figures have finally plateaued, and what's left of the tree is now 33% of its original weight.
What?
Wow, that is a lot of water.
Tree's 2/3 water.
So there might actually be something to this myth.
All right, well, let's get some fresh trees, go out to the Alameda bomb range, pour some liquid nitrogen over them, see what happens.
All right.
Awesome.
So it's back to the bomb range with a brand new tree and a truckload of LN2.
Anybody who's taken a high school chemistry class knows just how effective liquid nitrogen can be to freeze something. So we thought in MythBusters fashion, we'd take a small quantity, like 2,800 gallons of liquid nitrogen, and we're gonna pump it through this hose.
And out through these phase separators, where it'll separate the liquid nitrogen from the gases. So we'll be able to dump hundreds of gallons of liquid nitrogen over the entire tree.
And just to check our progress, we've got this temperature probe, which should be good down to minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll jam it in the trunk and watch it remotely.
So while Fred prepares to dump a load, our guys try to predict the future.
Do I think we're gonna get an explosion? I have my doubts. I do think we might see some cracking, some splitting of the tree. But you know what, there's always that little chance that that tree could explode. I mean, we have been wrong before on MythBusters.
I have my doubts that this tree is going to give us any sort of grand explosion. If anything, maybe some of the ornaments might explode, which, you know, when I told the story later, I might say the tree exploded. But I'm definitely standing behind the blast shields, just in case I'm wrong, because I am often wrong.
The frigid fog rolls in, and Carrie braces for the big bang. As the liquid turns to gas, oxygen gets sucked out of the mix. So I'll say it again, folks, don't get too close to liquid nitrogen.
43.5 degrees.
That's dropping fast. That's like 20 degrees in 2 minutes.
It's dropping faster now.
What are we at?
16.2, heading towards 0.
This thing could explode at any moment.
It sure could. And let's note that the freezing point of water is plus 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
Dropping really fast now. Minus 90, minus 95.
What?
Minus 100.
Antarctica cold.
Yeah.
This tree is definitely frozen.
It's at minus 140 now. It's minus 150.
How much time has elapsed?
We are now at 7 minutes.
The LN2 dissipates slightly in the breeze, but the temperature of the tree continues to plummet.
We're dumping gallons and gallons of liquid nitrogen over the top of the tree. It looks like fog rolling down off the top of it. You can actually see the trunk slowly turn white and freeze.
No tree in history ever got this chilly, this fast. The coldest temperature recorded on Earth is minus 146 degrees Fahrenheit, and this freeze shows no sign of slowing.
We're reaching minus 200.
I can't even comprehend that.
Over the next few minutes, the tree gets much colder, pushing on to the limits of absolute zero, but still no explosion.
We got the core temperature of the tree to minus 330 degrees Fahrenheit. If that tree were going to explode as a result of the water inside freezing, it would have. But unfortunately for the myth, it's still intact. Look, it's been almost half an hour, over 200 gallons of liquid nitrogen. I think we should call this and check it out.
All right, let's call it. All right, Fred, go ahead and kill the liquid nitrogen.
They couldn't get it any colder, and the tree hasn't so much as shed a leaf.
You know what? I was really hoping this thing was going to explode.
Check for cracks.
Wow.
Not any cracks, though?
No
I don't
cracks.
see any cracks at all.
But the whole trunk is like covered in frost. It means it's completely been covered in liquid nitrogen.
What should we do now?
Well, I wonder what would happen if there was some sort of impact. Could you actually shatter this tree the way you do with those science experiments?
Yeah, how about if we hit it with the shotgun?
That sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah, nice violent Mythbuster ending. I like it.
We do like to end with a bang, and a load of buckshot just might deliver the catastrophic conifer failure we hoped for.
If anybody loves Christmas, turn your heads now. This just seems wrong, shooting a Christmas tree. Safety's off. Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
The tree's frozen solid, but it's still not smashing to smithereens.
All right, it's about as good as we get.
What more can you do?
Well, here's what you could have done much earlier. Asked an expert.
As an arborist, what are we doing wrong? Why is the tree not exploding?
Trees in colder climates are naturally built to not explode. What happens is the water inside of the tree cells moves to air spaces outside of the tree cells, and those air spaces provide enough room for the water to expand without exploding the tree.
So the water does freeze and it does expand, but because of the air spaces, the trunk doesn't go boom, boom.
Correct.
So no matter how much we freeze this tree, it's never going to explode?
I doubt it.
Stupid adapting nature.
All that remains is to officially admit defeat.
Look at that. It's obvious that this tree is frozen completely to the core, and even with a high velocity impact, it did not shatter it or do anything that looked like an explosion.
Yeah, we froze it with liquid nitrogen, didn't explode, and we hit it with a shotgun shell, still didn't explode.
All right, I guess we're calling this one busted.
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 You know, I could always go into the tree trimming business.